Welcome again. Joining me this morning for press review is Ikechukwu Nwankwo. Ikechukwu Nwankwo is our public affairs analyst. Good morning, Ike.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, as usual, we have Daily Times, Punch newspaper, Vanguard, The Guardian, The Daily Trust, The Tribune to look at this morning. Remember, we look at the stories at the front pages of the papers, and then you go get your paper and get details of the stories. Okay, Daily Times, here we go. The stories on top of the net template of the Daily Times read, cost slams 10 million naira bill each on 10 end bad governance protesters. Okay, FCC, PC, 6 stakeholders support on cabin price fixing, other unethical practices. And then food sufficiency remains federal government's priority. This is coming from the minister. Okay, NLC, DSS never invited Ajaero before arresting him. Okay, but the banner headline on Daily Times says financial institutions must be part of counter-terrorism efforts. This is coming from NSA, Nigerian Security. And then the writers here said, it says without funding, ability of terrorist organizations to recruit, train, execute their plans is severely weakened. Okay, Tinubu will land Nigeria safely from turbulence. This is coming from Akume. Do we still have any other story of interest here? Rest moved to address non-implementation of directive to remove universities from IPPIS. Okay, these are many more are the stories you find from the front page of the Daily Times. Let's look at the Punch newspaper, please. Punch newspaper. How governors spent $50 billion excess crude funds. This is coming from NESG. And then post-outbreak spreads to 23 states. Marketers, refiners demand total subsidy removal. But the banner headline here says, Borno flood, 1 million persons affected, 414,000 displaced. With the riders there, death toll hits 30, victims sleep on streets. NEMA opens 9 IDP camps. Buyers are flooded after downpour. Serious issues at hand. Okay, any other story coming from here? Hunger protesters get Temila. We have seen that story. And then federal government to register untitled lands. Okay, let's look at Vanguard newspaper before we start talking. Vanguard newspaper. Treason, court grants 10 end bad governance protesters 10 million naira bill. Edoguba, tension as IGP Obaseki PDP disagree. Okay, but the banner headline, IMF to federal government protect the poor from impact of petrol price hike. IMF again, you beat and you ask who is beating. Let's look at their reasons. It says petrol still selling below market price. I thought as much. Cost for product availability and then competition. IMF is right. This is coming from an expert. Okay. Borno flood, we are still trapped, can't access work, business places. This is coming from victims. We will partner states to combat flood, VP Shetima said that. Eguavo still in charge of Super Eagles is another story we have on sports here. And then, okay, I think that's all we are taking from this Vanguard newspaper. Yes, Mr. Ikechukwu. Let's look at what NSA said about financial institution partnering in counter-terrorism to ensure that you don't release money, because when they have money to train, to buy equipment, and then continue their acts. What do you say?
Okay, that is the point I'm making. I think they're right. I'm in support of that statement from the National Security Advisor. So, because if terrorists are giving funds if they have access to funds or easy access to funds, terrorism attacks will continue in this country. So I think they are right in what they are saying, in what the man is saying, the National Security Advisor in Abuja. So that is the point. Then, but it's not only that. I believe that government needs to fight terrorism in all fronts. Apart from funding, they have various means to fight that scourge. It has been in this system for a very long time. In fact, terrorism is one of the problems of this country. And so-called politicians, and some of them are sponsors. So it's not only funding. Apart from funding, they also have a long way to go in government officials, the president, the NSA, the vice president, the military officers, the chief security officers to the president, the chief of staff or chief of army staff. All these personnel, military personnel, they have a long way to go in making sure that terrorism stops in Nigeria. Then they say without funding, ability of terrorist organizations to recruit, train. Of course, if you don't fund them, they will have low access to funds. They will not enter the banks to get money. They will not even have enough money to buy equipment.
Are they actually going through the banks? That's what I want to say, because all this kidnapping and payments, do they go through banks? I think they give them cash.
Yeah,
so they stash their money somewhere and then do the transaction. Yeah. You should be talking about trans-border effects where they change the money to buy weapons and a whole lot of things. I don't see terrorists going to the banks. So what do you say?
But people actually get the money for them. That cash they stack in different places. Somebody has to go to the bank to get the cash. You understand? So you don't just, as in cash, it doesn't come from the skies. It actually come from.
No, I'm looking at a situation whereby they besiege a city like what they do in the north and ask the city, you're going to give us 150 million naira. They're not going to pay them through ATM or through check. They're going to withdraw that money, get it in cash and give it to them. That's what they do there.
Yeah.
So they have this cash with them. So where I am looking at is how from the place they change that money, which of course I know is a trans-border thing. They cannot do it in Nigeria. Yeah. They will get another country, change the money, and then for onward movement or whoever is supplying them ammunition or whatever. Okay, so they sometimes we leave the main thing that we're supposed to talk about and be talking about what is not even realistic. Okay, how many of the terrorists go to the banks for their transactions? I don't know.
They don't. So actually, I think they have a point there, but the major issue is in the area of getting equipment for them. So if the government wants to fight terrorism, they know what to do.
They know what to do.
So it's not only funding. Apart from funding, they should also tackle them headlong. Like visit their hideouts. And they call it Samisa Forest or something. So if they have capacity, they can do that. We have Air Force officials, we have naval officials, we have the army, the police. So what are they doing? So there are so many things to do apart from funding. But why I support that issue of funding, I mean, the statement of the NSA is because sometimes the money is involved to an extent, but it's not all that.
I know. Okay, let's move on. Let's look at what is playing out in the courts between the End Bad Governance, the protesters, and the judiciary, where they are slamming them 10 million naira each for a bail. And then the idea of tagging non-violent protesters, idea of tagging them terrorists by saying that what it is an act of terrorism. Okay, so how do you look at this?
I mean, it's quite unfortunate that in this country our leaders chase shadows. That's a very unfortunate situation. I don't understand why they should be, tasking End Bad Governance protesters to pay 100 million naira. I mean, it's quite funny. It's in this country, I don't know, there's a high rate of corruption in this country. People who are supposed to be in jail are walking freely on the streets. Then innocent people are rotting in jails. That's the problem. That's the kind of injustice we have in this country. And that is why every thinking Nigerian, every reasonable Nigerian should stand against this, should speak out like we're speaking out today. It is quite unfortunate. I don't see any reason why a government should arrest and intimidate protesters. In fact, it is the duty of government to preserve and protect them. You can't tell me that a protester has committed a crime. No, there's no crime, there's no criminal activity involved in protest. In fact, protest is lawful. It is legal, it is lawful, it is morally right, it is standard in every part of the world. Protests are legal, not illegal. So there's no need for the courts to task them to pay 100 million naira. They should be set free. They should be set free, because if politicians are caught stealing, none of them will go to jail. Many of them have stolen this country. They have milked this country dry.
Ended up in the Senate.
They have milked this country dry. I'm saying it on live TV. They have finished this country. They have looted this country dry, and none of them is in jail. They are walking freely on the street. In fact, they are even rewarded with appointments, with federal government appointments. You can imagine, when you commit a crime, you'll be rewarded. But when you are innocent, when you are fighting for your rights, you go and end up in jail. So that is wrong. So we speak against it. Every sensible Nigerian should stand up against such act. It's not good. So I don't support that at all.
Yeah, well, some analysts are looking at this scenario, that this is an act, this is a ploy to ensure that they gag everybody. When you see something, you don't say anything, you just keep moving on with whatever policy the government is churning out, and a whole lot of things. Otherwise, why should somebody that just got out of the street to say, I am hungry, I am hungry, stop this hunger, do something and let us eat. So how has that translated to terrorism? And then what, let's join into what's playing out in with the NLC boss, Ajero, okay, whereby he's saying that if you have to continue with this kind of policy, I will call out the workers on strike, and then he is being run after. So what are they trying to do? Look at the journalists, the way they're shutting down the journalists, shutting them up. If you talk, they take you. And so is this democracy?
It's not. In fact, this is a bureaucracy. Let me use that word. Let me use that word. Government of the Aboros by the Aboros and for the Aboros. It's not good. I mean, this is tyranny. In any democratic setting, you don't expect people to just keep their mouth shut and you inflict them with pains and expect them not to talk. It's not democracy. So in a democracy, people should have civil rights to talk. People can exercise the opinion. People can say their mind, But in this kind of system, that's why I say we are running a bureaucracy or even militocracy, where the people in government are oppressing the masses and not the other way around. But in the democratic setting, people should be allowed to say their mind. Now, people came out to protest in August. What was the main issue or the main reason for that protest? I think the major issue was poor governance, bad governance. That bad governance must end in Nigeria. And they came after them. And
stifling policies.
Police came after them, DSS came after them and arrested some of them and even killed some. Some people lost their lives, which shouldn't be. So that is why we are saying that we don't have democracy in Nigeria, but God help us. That's our prayer. But God cannot come down from heaven and help us. That's why we keep on speaking. Everybody should be speaking out.
To help ourselves.
To help, anyhow you can help yourself. Just speak out. Keep on speaking out. We believe God. Things may change for better, but as it is now, I mean, things are going haywire in this country, and it's not acceptable.
Okay, let's move over to Punch newspaper and look at what is trending in Borno State. Yesterday was so devastating. We saw what went on as people are struggling for space. Human beings are struggling for space with animals, not just domestic animals, but very devouring animals like crocodiles, like pythons, snakes, and a whole lot of them that came from the waters and then are struggling for spaces on the land with the humans. Okay, Borno flood, 1 million persons affected, 414,000 displaced. This is, we started talking yesterday, asking why should the federal government always fold their hands and wait for flood to come every year? Because it comes every year, okay? Yeah. And then the other time when they started telling us that, well, the reason why the flood usually come every year is because the Cameroon will always open their dam to discharge water to Nigeria, okay, to make sure that Cameroon is not flooded. And then Nigeria is flooded, and we still have a government. So what is that proactive measure that we're supposed to put in place to ensure that this stops? Because it comes every year.
Every year, yeah. So it's actually unfortunate. It's not good. Our government should do something about it. Since Cameroon doesn't want their country to be flooded, so why must Nigerian leaders allow us to be flooded? That's the problem. I mean, it's an irony. So it shouldn't be tolerated. Now look at 1 million persons affected. 1 million persons affected. And I believe that this figure is even below the real figure. Because this should be the media figure. So it's not actually, I mean, it should be more than that. And when people are displaced, then where do they live? Government should help them. And then another thing is that government should do everything possible to ensure that such things do not happen again. Every year we witness flooding. I think there was one that happened in 2012. It flooded almost everywhere, even Anambra, everywhere in this country. I think only few states we are left. Then the other one happened in 2022, almost every year. So government should do something about it. That dam the Cameroonians normally open, I think they should also talk to them about it and know what to do, so that it doesn't flow into Nigeria again.
Yes, and because of the force of the water, it has broken our own dams, and then everywhere got flooded. But somebody was writing, I was reading one editorial yesterday where somebody was saying that everything is business to Nigeria.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so you allow this to happen because there will be money voted for this, but lives are lost, properties are lost, land, a whole lot of things. Why should you do business with people's lives? Okay, because now they're putting figures of how much that is needed to, make sure that this is controlled. No, to help the victims and the situation, not to control flooding. Okay, well, let's move on. And another story I want us to look at is the business of IMF in Africa as a whole, whereby in the where it comes to controlling our economy generally. IMF to federal government protect the poor from impacts of petrol prices. How? By making sure that this, what do they call them? What do they call this thing that they share? Palliatives. Yeah. You give me cups of rice. You reduce Nigerians to nothing, to beggars, because you want to get at what you want. Okay. Now, is IMF that advised Nigeria on what to do? Now, they're still saying that the petrol price is still selling below market price. So what we're even experiencing in a petroleum industry is a joke that is still coming. This is what they're saying. And then they're asking Nigeria to protect the masses. I don't really understand what's going on.
So, I mean, it's quite unfortunate. The IMF should also advise the government very well. But I believe they are part of the problem we have. Because you can't be telling the government to protect the poor from the impact of petrol price hike, yet you don't want to do something. I think IMF is International Monetary Funds. I think they also give loans to the government, right? Yeah, they give loans to the government sometimes. So I think
they will ignite problem for you now. You will come and ask for loan and they give it to you.
That's it. So IMF is also political, if I may say. It's a political organization too, in their own way. It's not good. You can't be advising the government and at the same time, and they take loans from the same IMF. Then IMF doesn't ask what they use the loan for. You can imagine. They just ignite one problem, like you said, then they come back to you for a loan and you deliver without asking them what they use the previous one for. So it's quite unfortunate.
Very, very unfortunate. Okay, so let's look at the state of the nation coming from the Vanguard newspaper. We are Tinubu's government sliding into fascism. This is coming from Afenifere yesterday. We saw another group asking for his resignation. If you don't know what else to do, resign. People are dying under your government. And now Afenifere is saying that Tinubu's government is sliding into fascism. Yeah. What is your take on that?
Yes, it's true. Tinubu's government sliding into fascism. Of course, if this is a true democracy, we will not be witnessing what we witness in this country. So, people do anything they like, just like oligarchy. Only the few can rule. And those few people are friends. After I rule, then my friend will take over. If my friend is gone, then another friend of mine takes over, and then the chain continues. Then when do we get out of this? When would they allow a neutral person to be there? So they're actually correct, and they do what they like, thinking that nobody can do anything. I believe if Nigeria is to be America, people will not be doing what they are doing in government. If Nigeria were to be an American environment, maybe a Nigerian environment turned to American environment or even British environment, I don't think our leaders will get away with this. But Nigerians are too quiet and too docile, too dormant to rule. In fact, Nigerians are the easiest people to rule on earth, if I'm to say. The easiest people to preside upon is Nigerians. Because you can't tell me that Americans will take what we take in Nigeria. You can't tell me that the British or even the Chinese people will take what we take in Nigeria. But we take everything. We take everything. And that's why our leaders
we don't know what else to do. Usually, if we were in a civilized climate, they will hit the streets protesting.
Of course.
And the government will hit them. But we have hit the street protesting. Look at where it landed us. 1 person, 10 million naira. You are termed a terrorist.
After the protest, the price of food, the prices of food increased.
The
prices of fuel increased after the protest. So it's quite unfortunate. But that's why I say Nigerians are, I don't know, we've protested, we've talked, people have been talking on radio, on television, in the papers, shouting on the street, activists shouting and talking, yet nothing. So they're actually right by saying that Nigeria is sliding into fascism.
Okay, let's look at the rest of the papers we have here. The Guardian newspaper is next. Ever busy Guardian newspaper. Policing amid lean resources. Federal government spends 131 billion naira subsidizing VIPs protection yearly. Okay, and down here it says of the 400,000 policemen in the country, 150,000 officers are attached to VIPs and unauthorized persons. Hey, Nigeria, my country. Okay, here is the flood story. We have seen enough of the floodings. And then bureaucracy, how not to promote child adoption policy. Okay, it's another story coming from here. Depreciation weakens imports as a trade surplus hits a 6.95 trillion naira in Q2 is another story coming from here. Court grants 10 million naira. Okay, we have seen that. Obaseki downbeat on signing a peace accord as Edo-Guba tensions heighten. Whatever that is going on in that state. Okay, NCDC confirms 67 MPOS cases, 982 Lassa fever cases, 168 deaths. None of them happened in my village. Now just they pack money, they go. Okay, and then Daily Trust is our next paper this morning. Daily Trust newspaper. A key takeaways from Harris-Trump debates is what you get details from this paper. More troops to Zamfara as 2G's 30 million naira levy deadline elapses. Afenifera Gani Adams criticized Tinubu over hardship. Okay, thank God there are people that are still talking. Brunei flood, over 30 confirmed dead, 1 million affected. This is the banner headline coming from Daily Trust, with some riders under it. Food shortage hits Bedugri. 719 rescued from rooftops and trees. Trapped patients, residents seek urgent assistance. And federal government offers 3 billion naira support. This is all we get. And then next year is going to be 4 billion or 5 billion, instead of using those billions to stop flooding from coming. Okay, only 32 officers policing 200 villages in Castina. This is coming from, rather, that's what you get. Now, if you share the remaining number from 400,000, you even get too much, 32 officers for one village. I think it's too much for that village itself. Okay, Innocent unveils first locally produced electric vehicle. Okay, congratulations to Innocent. I see the hot. Okay, these guys are busy doing their business down here. Nigeria records 6.94 trillion naira surplus as foreign trade hits 31.89 trillion. That's another story coming from here. We keep hearing this, and then it's not reflected in our GDP. It's not reflected in our everyday lives. The hunger is still there, biting harder and harder. 694 die of Lassa fever. We've seen that story. We've seen that story. Any other story of interest coming from here? Not now. Okay, let's look at Tribune. Let's look at Tribune newspaper, Nigerian Tribune. Edo PDP threatens not to sign peace accord. Why? Why won't you sign peace accord? Obaseki accuses police of waging war against the party. You are now hearing the reasons. Party labels REC, Commissioner of Police, Wike's associates. So no need to talk of peace when you are already coming with war. You have nothing to fear. INEC assures PDP extends PVC collection for 5 days. These two parties will be busy fighting, and Labour Party will take over their states. PDP's accusation attempts to stop investigation of killed policeman. IGP says that. And then we are satisfied with INEC police commitment to neutrality. This is coming from APC. Why not, when you are in charge of everything? Okay, police to deploy 35,000 personnel, beavers, IREF, compulsory in Ondo elections. INEC, why is the election in Nigeria talk of war? Why? When are we going to copy other countries in the way they do their own elections? Okay, Rest, let's look at other stories before we start talking. Rest moved to address non-implementation of directive to move universities from IPPIS. A woman slums dies while giving testimony in church. Too bad. Mpox vaccination is mostly used for prevention, not treatment or cure. This is coming from experts. Okay. Food shortage hits Maiduguri as governor says over 1 million people displaced by flood. Okay, and then do we have any other story of interest here? Emba governors, court admits 10 protesters to 10 million naira bail each. Okay, we've seen that story. Financial institutions must be part of counter. We have seen the story too. After 10 months, Plateau speaker swears in APC lawmakers. Okay, that's your state politics. Okay, let's start talking, especially let's go politics. Let's review Edo State and what's playing out there. The other day we saw P2B campaigning for their candidate, Labour Party candidate there. But from what we saw in Tribune now, are we going to have election in Edo State or war?
Well, election is slated for 21st of September, right? Yes, 21st should be next week, Saturday. So election is close by. But I don't know why they're turning it into warfare. Election, it should not be war now. So, but I think APC wants to take that state by fire by force, and PDP will not allow that. So that's the problem. They're just busy fighting and fighting, like you said before. They may be fighting, and Labour Party will take over the state. But for me, I believe peace is very important. Peace is better than war. So if they should allow peace to reign and election free and fair, it will be nice. So then the winner, when the winner emerges, then people will be happy. But let it not be rigging as usual. That's my own point. If they're
going to use beavers now.
Beavers. I wish the beavers would work out. Not like what happened in 2023 elections. We were promised virtual voting, virtual transmission of whatever. Beavers, whatever. Then at the end of the day, we are all disappointed. Then the result of the election was even announced around 4 a.m. when Nigerians were asleep. So it was quite unfortunate there, but that's by the way. So they shouldn't bring that kind of shenanigans back to Edo State in this coming election. So the political stakeholders in the state should do the needful. They should do everything possible to keep the peace, maintain the peace. Let there be law and order. Let there be absolute order in the state. So they shouldn't try to do anything against the will of the people. Because the people should decide who to preside over them. The people should decide who to rule over them, and not politicians, not INEC officials. So for me, let there be peace. Then if anybody is found culpable or as a suspect, the person should be arrested and prosecuted according to the law. But it shouldn't be business as usual. They shouldn't allow rigging to be the order of the day in that election. Then police should do their duty. Then INEC officials should be neutral. Police should be neutral. The Commissioner of Police in Edo State should be neutral. The President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria should be neutral. Like
Jonathan did. Why was there in all these takeaway elections? Yes. Jonathan would be the first to congratulate another a winner from another political party.
So
and that validates the election.
So even if APC is in power at the federal level, it's not compulsory that they must be in power in all the states. APC must not be in power in all the states. So they should allow the people to vote their candidates of their choice and then let the peace reign. Thank you.
Let the peace reign. That's what we are asking for in all the elections that is coming, especially that of the Edo and Ondo that is coming up very soon. Let peace reign. That's the most important thing. And then let there be a fair playing ground for everybody, because look at what they're saying now. That's they're not going to sign this because they have labeled IREC Commissioner of Police Nwike's associates. That is, I don't even understand why. Okay, let's leave it there. Let's leave it there, and then look at what is that story that I want us to talk about. It is on adoption. Okay. The other time I hosted some women here that are from different, I think NACTEL, NAPTIP, and they were talking of human trafficking and a whole lot of things. And one of them mentioned something that really touched me, that these days, even when you go to adopt children, which is a legal process, that they'll be calling millions and millions of naira and then telling you the process the whole thing will go before it gets to you. And somebody is now asking, what is this bureaucracy all about? How not to promote child adoption policy? Okay, that's the bureaucracy is too much, that you're going to do this, you're going to do that, you're going to do this. And then they'll even come and ask you, come and adopt children. They are encouraging people to come and adopt, but when you want to do the adoption, it becomes a whole lot of war. Some has, been in the line for 4 years, 5 years waiting for that. So how do you look at that?
Well, adoption is actually legal. It's a legal process.
It is.
It is. So you shouldn't stress people. If a couple doesn't have a child, the couple is free to adopt the child.
Even when you do, I know most couples that have children, and they still want to be as a kind of work of mercy or whatever. That these children should not end up in homes without parents, without relation, without any kind of identification. Okay, let's give them identification that you now belong here. So it becomes a problem.
It shouldn't be a problem. It shouldn't be, as long as it's done within the law. It's within the ambit of the law, so it shouldn't be a problem. It's a legal process. So even if they have children and they still want to have more, I think they have a way to go. They can still do that. You can still adopt a child. So it's not a problem. And I don't see why these people should be making it look like a problem. In Nigeria, adoption is legal. So since it's legal, they should understand that fact, and they shouldn't stress people. Anybody that wants to adopt a child should be allowed to adopt a child. They should follow the legal process. As long as it's not done abnormally, it's not done illegally. Some people may kidnap a child and call it adoption. That one is different.
And I said it's because of this bottleneck, this bureaucracy, that people go the other way around to do it. But if the process is easier through the official platform, so why won't people go through that place, go through that process? That's what this story is talking about. So let's look at police and what is trending. We read that story that over 400 out of the 400,000 policemen in the country, 150 officers are attached to VIPs and unauthorized persons. Who are the unauthorized persons, and who are those that are attaching police to unauthorized persons?
That's the problem we have. You can imagine, amid lean resources, federal government still spends about 131 billion naira. 131 billion naira subsidizing VIP's protection yearly. You can imagine. So why should they be spending that? Just like what they did in VP's accommodation, VP's residence, 21 billion naira spent to renovate one man's house. You can imagine. Not even building a
why average Nigerians are hungry.
Average Nigerians are homeless and hungry. Homeless on the streets, very hungry, no school, no education, no good health care, nothing. Yet they spent 21 billion naira to renovate a man's house, just one man's house. So that's the kind of country we have. As in I don't know, the government from 1999 till now, the government of Nigeria has dealt with people. The government officials have dealt with people in this country. They've pushed us so hard and so hard to the wall. So that's the problem. So this is totally unacceptable. It is condemnable. It is unacceptable. It is not morally right for any reason. Because people are, okay, now fuel prices are up to, I think 1 liter should be selling at 1,213 now. 1,200,
1,003, colleague bought 1,003 yesterday.
1,002, 1,003, you know. Like in some parts of Anambra, some sell 1,3, some in Enugu, some sell 1,4. So that's the problem. So that's why we should, you know, kind of destroy anything that is a problem.
Anything that is a problem. I had wanted us to join this story with this one that is, where is that story from? The Daily Trust, where somebody rather is complaining that only 32 officers are policing 200 villages in Castina. Only 32 officers. And you attach 150,000 to individuals. Okay, but a whole state is having only 32 officers.
Yeah, all these things should be looked into. Honestly, I don't know what to say again. In fact, these people are taking us for granted. Okay. I can only 32 officers be policing entire village, 2 communities in Katsina State. Yet, one governor has about 50 policemen following him. Only one governor of any state. Then even, in fact, I think even the local government chairman, some of them, even the local government chairman, some local government chairmen also have police officers attached to them. You can imagine, as low as that office is.
Now even those ones are in government now. Didn't you hear what this guy said? He said, even non-authorized persons.
Okay.
Okay.
Which means anybody have a police officer. I can have a police orderly attached to him, which is very wrong. Unauthorized persons. Even some private individuals, they have policemen following them, but that one can be personal. Maybe the person pays for his security. That one is different, not from government coffers. That one is different. But when we're condemning totally, is government spending such huge amount, humongous amount, to cater for VIP's protection yearly, while people are hungry, people are homeless, people are clothless, nothing to wear, nothing to eat, yet you are paying this kind of amount. I mean, it's quite outrageous, it's quite bad.
It is. Okay, Innocent unveils first locally produced electric vehicle. Are we seeing hope, at the end of the tunnel? Yes, this is an escape from the petroleum crisis that we're having here.
Yes, it is, because Innocent has been quite wonderful in producing of, manufacturing of vehicles in this country. But this electric vehicle will go a long way. It will help us. It will save us some embarrassment of all this fuel crisis and whatever. So if electric vehicles are on our ways, I think it's a good development.
Okay.
It's a good development.
Okay, beautiful. Before we go, let's look at what's trending in America concerning Harris and Trump. Okay, key takeaways from Harris and Trump debates as they get ready for their election. Who do you give it to? Harris, Trump?
Well, I give it to Trump.
Oh, really? You don't want a woman to be the president of America?
Well, a woman can be president of America. That's if the American people decide. If the American people so decide, it's possible. But me, I believe Trump has a better agenda for America. He has been there for 4 years, between 2016 and 2020. Yes, he was president, and he did well. He fought all these terrorism attacks, Muslim invasion.
He did well. Why did they vote him out?
Islamic invasion. Well, I wouldn't know. Maybe they preferred Biden to him. But for me, I'm not in America, but I believe.
I'm trying to look at what America really wants, because unlike Nigeria, where we don't have ideology, any political ideology, just wake up and just enter into governance and say or do or shun out any kind of policies you like. But in America, where you have people with integrity, where you have people with political ideas, the Democrats and the Republicans, they have different ideas of government. Okay, well, Trump is of the Republicans, while Harris is of the Democrats. And now he came in after a while because the Democrats have been there, and Trump came in from that wing. Okay, and after 4 years, he was voted out. Does that really mean that America doesn't want it this way?
Maybe they voted him out because they prefer some of the anti-people policies of Obama. For example, when Obama was president, Obama brought in gay marriage, I think. legalized abortion, legalized same-sex marriage, all these things. So some people may not actually want it. That was why they voted for Trump. And Trump came in and was against all these things. So maybe
they still voted him out.
Maybe they wanted it again, because people want free life. Like in America, people live free life. They live freely. They don't even believe in morals. So some of them don't believe in morals. So they prefer the laws of the Republic, the Democratic Party or whatever. Maybe they prefer those laws like gay marriage. They like it because I know that Harris will still bring those things back because it's still in the same line of Obama. Harris belongs to Obama. Obama belongs to Harris. The same party.
Okay, let's look at the guy that's stepping out, not just Harris now. What about Biden? Biden that is there. Harris is there.
You know, Biden was VP to Obama. Biden was VP to Obama. In fact, they ruled for 8 years.
Harris VP to Biden.
So the same chain continues.
Okay.
The same chain. So the same thing. So even if Harris enters there, she will still bring back the policies of Obama and Biden. The same thing continues. So, but Trump is from different breed. So it's from different angle. So I prefer they change.
Okay, you prefer, but
American people.
I know, but that's what I'm trying to say. Now that Harris seems to be more popular than Trump, you know, in America when it comes to this coming elections.
Yeah, she is. So she is.
So she's likely going to take it from Trump.
No, let's see how it goes. She's likely because again she's in power already. She's already in government.
Okay, incumbency will play. Yes. Okay, I'd like to thank you very much this morning for coming. Ikechukwu Nwankwo, our public affairs analyst. Thank you very much. I must say that you really tackled the stories as they came. Thank you.
You're welcome.